The Clock of Time. Part 1. The Legacy of the Past. The rain tapped softly on the window, whispering like an old friend who had come to remind John of everything he had tried to forget. He sat alone in his apartment, the same as every night, silent, gray, and endlessly predictable. The message came suddenly. His grandfather had passed away. John hadn't seen him in years. As a child, he used to spend summers in the old man's countryside house. A place filled with the smell of pine, books, and time itself. But life had its way of burying memories beneath dead lines and screens. When the lawyer handed him a small wooden box, John didn't expect much. Inside were a few yellowed letters, a photograph, and a pocket watch, old, silver, heavy. The metal was cool to the touch, engraved with a delicate pattern of stars and lines that seemed almost alive. On the back, an inscription. "Time is not what you lose. It's what waits for you." He smiled faintly. "Poetic," he muttered. But when he pressed the side button, the hands of the clock began to spin backward, and the world broke apart. He felt the ground vanish beneath him. The air grew warm, filled with the scent of grass and summer rain. He opened his eyes, and froze. Before him stretched the old field near his grandfather's house, the same one from his childhood. He saw himself, a small boy, laughing, barefoot, chasing a kite across the meadow. His grandfather stood nearby, calling something with that familiar, warm voice. John's heart tightened. He wanted to run to them, to shout, "I'm here!" But when he stepped forward, the wind swallowed him, and in a blink, everything was gone. He was back in his apartment. The hum of the refrigerator. The dull city light. Only the ticking of the clock remained, slow, steady, as if mocking him. Part 2. The Edge of Tomorrow. John couldn't sleep. The memory of that field haunted him, too vivid, too real to be a dream. For nights he stared at the watch lying on his desk, its faint ticking echoing like a heartbeat. Finally, curiosity outweighed fear. He wound the key once more. This time, the motion was smoother, as if the clock knew what he wanted. The hands spun forward, faster and faster, until they blurred into a glowing circle. The world around him dissolved. When the blur faded, he was standing in the middle of a street. The air shimmered with faint blue light. Buildings of glass and metal stretched into the clouds. Drones hovered silently, casting patterned shadows on the pavement. A massive holographic billboard towered above him. On it, his own face, older by at least 20 years. The headline read, "John Matthews, the man who bought time." His stomach twisted. He looked down. His reflection stared back from a puddle, wearing a sleek black suit, eyes cold and calculating. He looked like someone who hadn't smiled in a very long time. He walked. Everywhere he went, people moved aside. They whispered his name. Some bowed. He entered a towering building with his name glowing above the door. Inside, everything gleamed chrome, glass, silence. A voice spoke behind him. "Mr. Matthews, the board is waiting." He turned. The woman from before. The one from the field of his memory, but older now, stood holding a tablet. Her face was calm, but her eyes were filled with sadness. "Do I know you?" he asked. She hesitated, then smiled faintly. "You used to," she said softly. "Before you made the deal." "What deal?" "You sold your years," she whispered. "Traded time for success. You don't remember because you asked to forget." He stared at her. "That's impossible." She nodded toward his wrist. The same silver watch gleamed there, only now its surface pulsed with blue light. "It was supposed to stop you from aging," she said. "But—" Part 3. Between Seconds. John began to travel more often. Back to his first heartbreak. Forward to the day he would lose his job. Back again, to that golden field, to the moment his grandfather taught him how to fix the watch. Each trip left him weaker, his reflection a little older, his hands trembling more. The more he sought answers, the less he understood. He began to notice things. Whispers in the corners of rooms that shouldn't exist, faint reflections of himself in mirrors, lagging by a fraction of a second. Sometimes he'd see his future self watching him from across the street. Sometimes smiling. Sometimes not. One night, when the clock struck midnight, the ticking stopped. The silence was deafening. He turned the watch over, and froze. A new message had appeared etched in the metal. "You've seen enough. Now choose." He stared at it, his heart pounding. Choose what? To live? To change? To stop? He pressed the button, nothing. Pressed again, nothing. Then he looked at the reflection in the glass and saw his grandfather. "Time isn't yours to control, John," the reflection said softly. "It's yours to understand." The room began to collapse into fragments of his memories. The laughter of the boy, the sterile office of the man, the empty chair at the dinner table. He fell to his knees, clutching the watch. "Please," he whispered. "I just want another chance." The reflection smiled. "Then take it. But remember, every second you waste, someone else is losing theirs." And the world shattered. Epilogue: The Gift. Years later, a young woman wandered into a small antique shop at the corner of an old cobblestone street. The place was dimly lit, filled with the scent of dust and rain-soaked wood. Shelves groaned under the weight of forgotten things, letters, vinyls, books whose titles had long faded from their spines. She wasn't sure what drew her there. Maybe the storm outside, maybe something else, something she couldn't name. Her fingers traced the edges of forgotten objects until she stopped at a glass case near the back. Inside lay a silver pocket watch. Its surface was cracked but beautiful, the kind of beauty that only comes with age. The metal shimmered faintly, as if it remembered light from a different world. She opened the case, and the quiet ticking filled the air, calm, steady, alive. For a moment she thought she heard a second heartbeat inside the ticking, soft, distant, human. The hands of the watch moved in perfect rhythm, though she could see no mechanism driving them. On the back, an engraving read, "To those who still believe, time is a gift." The words glowed faintly as her fingertips brushed against them. When she pressed the small side button, the hands froze, and the world around her seemed to pause with it. The air grew warmer. The smell of pine and rain filled the room. She closed her eyes. For a moment she saw flashes of lives that weren't hers. A boy chasing a kite across a golden field. An old man smiling beside a workbench. A city of glass towers fading into light. And somewhere, a man sitting peacefully by a window, a broken watch in his hand and a gentle smile on his face. She opened her eyes, breath trembling. The store was silent again. The watch ticked softly, as if nothing had happened. "Strange," she whispered, smiling faintly. "It feels alive." She bought it for almost nothing. The shopkeeper, an elderly man with kind eyes, wrapped it carefully and said, "Take good care of it, dear. It's